start this again?
How do we start these?
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca.
I'm Lelia.
And we are the Boozy Booksellers. It's been so long,
It's been
you
a
guys. I'm so
while.
sorry.
But in case you were wondering what we were doing, we were watching baseball because the Nationals are the World Series champions. Very exciting.
But now that the World Series is over, we figured that we would get back into the swing of things and recommend some cozy, well, not necessarily cozy, recommend some fall
Mine are cozy
feeling books to read while, it finally decided to be winter here, I guess.
I stole the theme of cozy fall from my brother's wedding. BT dubs.
We've also got
this
some...
episode is sponsored by Joe's Pizza on Lee Highway and our anonymous benefactor who sent us a gift card for it. Thank you.
Pizza.
This is delicious. The first one is a book that we both love and have discussed this author previously, probably, if you've ever met us. And it's called The Scorpio Racist by Maggie Stiefvater.
And it's amazing.
And I think probably we could both recite the first line if we really wanted to.
It is the first day of November, and
so
someone will
die, right?
Also, with the first day of November is my birthday, so...
Shout out. So yeah, I'm sorry. Killer Horses, if you haven't heard us talk about this before, shiny cover, November cake, which is a made-up, delicious cake. Yes, it is both made up and delicious. You're welcome. And Maggie Stiefvater is amazing, and this book is so fall vibes.
A very, Irish folklore...
Feelings.
It's so good.
Ooh, delicious. Okay.
Speaking of Irish folklore and feelings, my first book is Dreamer's Pool by Juliette Marillier. And this is some, old school, high fantasy, Irish, mythologically inspired. There's, fae folk, and everyone has names like Saoirse and Donal and Connell and... lots of
Donald and Connell, those crazy kids.
Oh,
up between the mountains there.
And this is a book about Blackthorn, who is a healer, wise woman, druid-type lady. And she starts off the book wrongfully imprisoned by this really awful, terrible guy. And she spent a year in prison, and then she is mysteriously freed by this fae folk benefactor with the conditions that she cannot seek revenge on this guy who killed her family and wrongfully imprisoned her. I know. And she also has to help anyone who asks her. I know, right? Which is just also great because Blackthorn is not about people. She's a wise woman and a healer, but she hates talking to people and it's delightful. But so she sort of is freed from this prison with Grimm, who is this big, sort of tall, silent type who was in prison with her, and he becomes her traveling companion, best friend, prison buddies, yeah. So they set off on this quest to find a home and help people and work through their mutual traumas together. But then they start solving mysteries, and it's quite good. So, Dreamer's Pool, Juliette Marillier, good old-fashioned high fantasy, should you wish for it.
Also, we forgot to mention what we were drinking this evening, which is a delightful new
concoction
discovery of blackberry whiskey and a pomegranate pear nectar.
Nantucket nectar.
Nantucket nectar, thank you. There was another alliteration in there somewhere. Next, I will discuss with you all Fierce Fairy Tales by Nikita Gill. Yes, this beautiful collection of poems and stories is inspired by fairy tales, which I think is a very cozy fall. You want something that you're familiar, you recognize sort of as his childhood, all these tropes and these things that come back up again and again in terms of the stories that we tell. And hers are just remarkable takes on those, and they're modern in terms of the interpretation and the adaptation, and they're well, maybe those stepsisters were just misunderstood in Cinderella, and that everyone needs to just not judge them. You don't know their lives, okay? So let's calm down. And if they were guys, they would have just been the cool older brothers. But they weren't. Anyway, that's just a bit of an oversimplification. But the point is, Nikita Gill is great, and she is better at words than me. And Fierce Fairy Tales is delightful, and everyone should read them. Also, look, it's so short. Ooh, you can read it so quickly.
Ooh. This one I did not read very quickly, but I do think that it is perfect for fall and the colder months. And that is The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. And I apologize for this old, like, mass market copy that I have that is very shiny.
It's so old.
It's very old. Like, I looked it up.
Is it older than you?
It is. It is from 1983, is this copy. You can tell it's, like, old, like, pulpy kind of illustrations.
Love it.
But this is a historical mystery that takes place in medieval Europe on the eve of this sort of like big religious meeting at this sort of isolated monastery up in the mountains. And one of the monks is murdered. And so they bring in Brother William, who I believe was played by Sean Connery in the movie of The Name of the Rose, which I know, which is perfect, which I have never seen, but it looks delightful. Brother William and his, like, novitiate, his friend, like, novice person whose name I can't remember, to help solve this mystery. And Brother William, he's not like Sherlock Holmesian, but he does have a little bit more liberal, sort of more science-minded, investigative quality about him. And it, like, dives into this very secretive, troubling lives of these isolated monks, and, like, people continue to die in very strange ways. And, you know, they have to go looking in the scriptorium, and it's very, like, curl up by a fire with some mead or, like, mulled wine and just, like, sink into this one. It's delightful. I'm just gonna read you the back because it's also one of those little, like, plot points and not a full summary. There's a murderer loose in the abbey. Enter the labyrinth. Unravel the mystery. You will never look at death or life in quite the same way again.
What a delightfully vague back
I know,
copy.
right? So, what does it mean? Who knows? The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco.
Next, I'm going to discuss Lake of Destiny by Martina Boone. Look at this cover. Let's just look at that for a second. It's not shiny, but it does have a woman in a plaid shawl drinking hot tea. So, yeah, with the Scottish Highlands in the background. Yeah.
Sorry, I was doing bagpipes.
Such cozy vibes. And it is indeed about a woman whose life falls apart. Her big city life and her job and her douchey fiance. And it's all just like tossed into the wind. Set it on fire. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to go to Scotland where things are nice. And I have a cool aunt who will just feed me. And maybe
that's a dream.
That is the dream. That is the dream. Her aunt's name is Moira. Of course. She goes to Moira, and Moira, I think it's a Moira. Somebody's name is Moira, for sure. But more importantly, she finds herself on a journey of
self-realization.
I mean, yeah, I
self-discovery.
guess so. I didn't know where that sentence was going when I started it. She meets a lovely Scottish gentleman who is perhaps a secret former Hollywood star who decided to go hide in that small town in Scotland to avoid the spotlight because he wanted to raise his daughter in peace, and it's adorable. And of course, they fall in love.
Of course.
So yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. That's Lake of Destiny by Martina Boone. You're welcome.
And my last one is a book that I haven't read yet, but I desperately want to read this fall because it's coming out later this month, and that is Queen of the Conquered by Kaysen Callender. And now you will notice that there is a little random post-it on this book, and that is because there's a snake on it.
Yes.
And I hate snakes.
Had to be snakes.
There's always snakes on all these covers, and I'm sick of it. But this book looks really good, despite all of the snakes. But it is a Caribbean-inspired fantasy world where the main character's family has been overthrown by colonizers, you know, prior to the start of this book, and the main character then has to reclaim her throne, basically. And I'm into that, and I'm super into, like, the post-colonial fantasy novel, and I'm super excited to read about a Caribbean-inspired fantasy land, because I feel like that's not something that is very common these days, and I'm willing to look past the snake on the cover, because I'm deeply phobic of snakes. And they're on all of the book covers now. So that's just my life. But I'm looking forward to reading Queen of the Conquered by Kaysen Callender.
Would you say you're sick and tired of these mother flippin' snakes
on these mother flippin' book covers? I absolutely am.
Would you say it?
Insert Samuel L. Jackson
what
here.
A guy. Okay, so here we go. Still chewing. I would like to discuss with you an amazing novel called The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. This one's a little shiny because it has a signed sticker on it.
Yes. Signed copies
this can
available.
be yours. We do have signed copies. Also, peep these end papers. Aren't they beautiful? I read an advance copy, so I didn't have these. And
Look
I
at the
opened
stars!
them, I was like, what? Look at the stars!
They're giving us stars!
It's a metaphor! So Jojo Moyes wrote Me Before You, which I have not read, but seems sad. This one is historical fiction, and it is based on a true story of the horseback librarians in Kentucky. Who
I didn't know that's
were
what it was
librarians who rode horseback to give books to people in rural Kentucky towns in
That's
the mountains. So they're like, yo, I'm just going to spend all day going up this mountaintop to try and give books to these people and encourage literacy when a lot of them don't know how to read. Anyway, in any case, it's about a ragtag group of women in a time when it was not easy to be a woman. One of them is she's like, if you've seen Fried Green Tomatoes, she is the character. Oh my God,
Kathy Bates.
Nope,
that's the only person I know.
Nope.
Mary Louise Parker.
Nope, it's the third one. It's
the
blonde one.
Oh, I don't
She's
know the
also
other
in
one.
Some Kind of Wonderful, and she is great. I will get there. In the meantime, let me start this over. One of the characters is a fabulously feisty. I hate the word feisty. It just seems like we should have a better way to describe a woman who seems to defy what people want a woman to be in this era. Mm-hmm. But that is what she does. And she is just like, you know what? I live my life how I want on my terms. Don't you tell me what to do. And everybody's like, you're a problem. I don't like you. And she's like, do I care? No.
I do not.
So she's like, I'm going to go take these books to these people to read. And then the new girl in town is like, I'm British. I don't know. Also, maybe I married this guy and he's kind of bad. Ooh. And then it's just like, oh, sweetie, I'm sorry. So that's my assessment of the plot, which is to say, I'm sorry, please read this book, even though I described it very poorly. It is about loving books and also female friendship. We have signed copies. I met Jojo Moyes. She was so nice.
Oh, I forgot you did that.
That's awesome. She was so great. She is a great dog. You should follow her on Instagram because of her dog.
Oh my God, I'm going to.
Do it.
So, yeah, those are our fall books. We're sort of getting back in the swing of things.
We're here. We're alive.
We're here. We're kicking. We're recommending books. And keep your eyes open for our Best of 2019 video coming up soon.
Get excited.
Get pumped. But yeah, so I am looking forward to talking with y'all again and seeing what you like to read during the fall. And I think that's it from us. Yeah? Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Sorry we were gone for a while.
Listen, life gets in the way sometimes. And baseball.
Baseball.